All right, we're going to bring on our guy now from 3 yards per carry, CK Parrott. His voice is going to be in much better condition than mine is, I'm sure. Joining us from Tampa. How do I sound, CK? Great?
You sound like you gargled with battery acid.
I will tell you, it's better than 3 days ago. It is better. That's it. Look, that come on, real. That's not really true. All right, let's get to it because nobody really wants to hear from me anymore. And we'll get into an evaluation of the first 2 games, obviously. But why, in your view, are we seeing this? What is it about him that bothers people so much?
I think because there's a lot of different personalities at play, there's probably a lot of different reasons. But if I had to generalize it, I'd say that there's a thing in sports. It's the great schadenfreude of sports, where expectations and reality don't meet. We love that. Right. We love to talk about that in sports when there are high expectations and there's high hype. And then the reality falls short of it. Think about how Ryan Leaf has been sewn into the fabric of NFL history. I mean, ultimately, he's just another failed player among a million failed players in the NFL. Right. But no, it's different. Right. Because coming out, some people, not even most people, some people hyped him more than Peyton Manning. And then Peyton Manning went on to have this career and Ryan Leaf was a total failure. So I think that there's something in us. We want to see that. We want to see that more, that happen more. And you have this juxtaposition between Tua Tagovailoa and Justin Herbert going back to back. Justin Herbert had one of the best rookie seasons quarterback that, we've ever seen. And he is everything that Tua Tagovailoa is not. He's, the 6'5" body, beautiful cannon armed guy. And Tua Tagovailoa is, 6'0" and doesn't have a rocket arm necessarily. And, so I think there's a lot of that. There's a want to about it that we want, that people, especially national, non-Miami people, they want to see this. They really want to see this, the Flames. So I think that's probably, if I were to generalize it, that's probably it. And then there's also, you talk about Ben Volin, New England writer. It's pretty transparent, right?
But he wasn't always, Chris. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it feels personal at this point. I know Ben, so I don't really understand it, I guess.
I've had beers with Ben a couple of times. I mean, I know Ben pretty well. I think that I think he likes, poking the ant pile a little bit. So I think that there's that to it. But yeah, I think that there's definitely some anti-Miami among individuals. But really, I think it's just we all love to see somebody go down in flames, and so they want. I mean, think about, but we can't claim to be special that way, because think about like how universally, for example, everybody hated the Josh Allen pick for the Buffalo Bills, right? I mean, when he was drafted, everybody was just immediately 95% of people were like, "This is just a total mistake. He's a terrible quarterback." And then his first 2 years in the league were like that as well. So how much did Buffalo Bills fans be like, "Oh, everybody hates Buffalo. Everybody hates the Buffalo Bills. Everybody hates our guy." I think we just, nationally, and not we as in Miami fans, we just love failure. We love seeing somebody fall like gloriously short. And Tua didn't really do that last year, but I guess relative to Justin Herbert, maybe he did.
But Chris, he doesn't hype himself up. Like, I get it with like LeBron. Okay. And I covered LeBron for 5 years every day. Okay. I get it with LeBron, because even though I knew LeBron in a different way than other people knew him, because again, I was interacting with him regularly, I understood the aura he put out and the bullseye he put on his own back. Okay. When you call yourself the chosen one at age 16 or 17, okay, that's okay. And you tattooed, I mean, that's kind of what you're doing. But this is different. I mean, this is Tua, he's confident, but he's humble. Like, he doesn't have those kind of airs. He credits his teammates. He takes responsibility. Like, this is not the typical athlete that people want to bring down. And that's what I don't really understand. I mean, even his story, he wasn't, he emerged, he comes in for Jalen Hurts. He makes that throw in a national championship game. he didn't anoint himself anything. He performed. And not only that, but the public typically likes comeback stories.
Yeah.
And he's an incredible comeback story. He's an incredible family story. He sits on the field, okay, after, his first game and soaks it all in. Like, it's just, I just don't understand from that perspective, what it is. I want to focus on the football with you here a little bit, though, while I got you. Okay, so again, you can follow CK at CK Parrott, and at the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast. New episode is just, I guess, out overnight, so I'm going to check that out as well. And this comment comes, Tua didn't have to hype himself up. Everybody else did it for him. That's why I called it the cult of Tua. Fans and media set this up ahead of time. The thing about that is, and again, I want to get to the football, not in the way they did with Tebow, not in the way I just feel like there are levels to cults. Okay. We see that in politics too. Well, like there are levels to cults. I don't know that Tua cult was, we sold a t-shirt, CK. That's all we did.
Man, come on.
That's all we did. We sold a t-shirt. We sold a lot of them. We got more on the site too, if you want them, but let's get to the football. Okay. The first game, I thought the biggest thing that jumped out to me as opposed to last year was the quickness of the ball getting out. But the second game, the thing that really jumped out to me, and I think to you and to others, is just the movement in the pocket. It feels like the Dolphins finally have a quarterback who knows when the rush is coming and where it's coming from, which I don't think they've had since maybe Pennington. Okay. And to have that is going to be necessary because this offensive line is not going to give him a long time to sit back there.
Yeah, I think that one of the big differences that we're seeing in this year, what he's doing in the preseason as opposed to before, because he's always been like this. He's always been able to feel the rush. If you go back to Alabama and you look at what he does, I mean, he's one of those quarterbacks. He takes his job very seriously, and his job, a quarterback's job, is to move with the rush and to breathe within the pocket. He's doing that. He's doing it like he had before. And I think part of it was, particularly in this game, the offensive line actually sort of kept working at their blocks. Mm-hmm. Even though they were giving up penetration and it was a dirty pocket, and you saw that over and over again. But they kept their hands engaged, they kept their feet moving, and they kept up with the blocks. And so even though the pocket gets a little bit collapsed in and he has to move around, he doesn't have guys actually grabbing him and dragging him to the dirt if he can operate that way. If you give him that, it doesn't have to be a good offensive line. It really doesn't. Mm-hmm. If you give him that, if you coach them well enough that they stay engaged and they keep their hands and their feet working, then he can do this. And this is one of the reasons that they drafted him so high. He has that natural feel for it. So we're seeing that in this game, and overall in the preseason, I think what we're seeing is we haven't gotten to have high standards with our quarterbacks. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I covered Ray Lucas, Chris.
Yeah.
And Tyler Thigpen and Joey Harrington and Dante Culpepper and AJ Feely and David Heward, and I'd stop me at any time. Go ahead.
Let's not forget Cleo Lemon and
John Beck,
Gus Farrat. Yeah. So we haven't gotten to have high standards with our quarterbacks in a while, but if you go and you watch all these other quarterbacks in the preseason, what you notice is this isn't like they're showing that this is not the level of football at which it's challenging, right? Like some of these quarterbacks out there, these franchise guys, they're operating in the preseason. They have like this ridiculous accuracy or completion percentages. They just operate like they're out there in practice or something like that. It just looks kind of easy. What we're seeing in 2 games, and it's really kind of mind blowing to think about how long it's been that we haven't seen that. But what we're seeing in 2 games is Tua's a little bit like that. Like every pass is on target. Just about every pass is on target. He's making quick decisions and correct decisions like pretty easily, with the exception of one decision against Chicago, which laid over the middle in the end zone. So he's making it kind of look easy because preseason should be a little bit easy for guys at that level. It's encouraging because we need a guy at that level, and we haven't had one in a long time. So I like it.
All right, I'm going to get to more with you here in a second because I want to get into the expectation game, which is always interesting here, particularly because I do think people down here have different expectations than they might everywhere else.